Okay. You're doing one round of a checkup? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing one more round of a checkup. Tim Bale, if you can hear me. Tim Bale. Can you confirm that you can hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Tim Quach, can you hear us? Tim Pakwach?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and then we have Maria online. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Yes, yes.
Monica, can you hear us?
Monica, can you hear us? Monica, can you hear us? Monica, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Patience Aikoru Poni. I was being referred to as Abigail. Now, yes, I'm a youth leader profession. I work with the Embassy Development Corporation. I'm a member of FIDA Uganda, the National Youth Council Uganda, and also a friend of Vijana Corp. So it's amazing to be here with you all. The conversation is going to be really interesting because I have an amazing panel that you've already probably had saying hello, but the information that they bring to us is going to be very important. For us to note is that the conversation is not going to take a very long time because I know we have not yet had lunch this side in Mukono, unlike the other branches. However, because of that, we're going to try and make sure our conversation is at most 1 hour and a half. So we'll have one round of questions to the panelists, and then they should be able to respond comprehensively to these questions so that we have a few questions and answers from you, the audience. So I want you to take note, your questions, put them in writing. Those joining us virtually as well, you're surely going to ask your questions. If possible, you can type your questions in the chat. I am also very aware that we have an audience beyond just the Vijana Corp community. We have people joining us on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in with us. As you listen in, please drop your comments as well. We might not be able to respond immediately, but this is an ongoing conversation. As I start, I would like to introduce the panel. Of course, I want to start with one here in Mukono with me. I would like to refer to you as Honorable Isaac Chitongo. And I'm sure you're going to tell us more about yourself in just a minute. I know that Isaac is a district councillor, but also a teacher and a chairperson of the youth council in Mukono district. Isaac, could you say hello to the audience and a little bit about yourself that I've missed out?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Isaac. It's a pleasure seeing you. Once again, my name is Isaac Chitongo. I come from Kome Islands, Mukono district. I think a few people come from Kome Islands. I'm a district councillor representing Kome Islands. I'm a teacher, Kome Seed School, Mukono district still. And I'm the vice chairperson, Mukono District Youth Council. At the same time, the chairperson, Kome Sub-County Youth Council.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Isaac. We cannot wait to listen more from you. Earlier on, the members in the audience here in Mukono were grilling you for the work you're doing and your role towards, the national budget Uganda. But also, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my panelist, Mbale. I don't know if he is to the camera. Mr. Amuza Wamono, if you can hear us, please just say hello to the audience so that we get started. So Mr. Amuza Wamono is a PhD candidate at Chambogo University on public policy and governance, but mission who has publications. Among these, he published a book on local government financing and education service delivery. Over to you, Wamono. Just to the audience, and then we'll get back.
Thank you.
youth participation and understanding of the. You can see that your camera has said better. So I'll move on to the next panelist, who is seated in Pakwach, and this is.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Um, I work with Africa Water Solution on a project it's called God Bless. As program field officer, we operate in Pakwach, and I'm also a social worker and advocate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. And as we get to our cross panelists, I've seen a comment that we have feedback. Let's kindly keep our microphones muted unless you're speaking. Thank you. So two more panelists that are joining us from Kenya. Virtually, we cannot say thank you enough because of your time, you know, to give us your expertise and comparison. Kenya, we are sister countries. So from Kenya, we have Maria Angela, an advocacy specialist at Development Dynamics. I just want you to unmute and say hello to the audience, a bit about yourself that you would have missed out. Over to you, Maria.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Maria Angela Maina. I live in Kenya. I'm a lawyer, meaning I have a law degree, and I have experience in policy and advocacy. Specifically, I look at the gaps in policy, I analyze them when it comes to youth participation, and then I look for the youth participation and how the laws can be amended to better serve the needs of the youth. I also have an advocacy platform called Social Justice Influence Kenya, where I do this in my spare time, and I educate the youth to know more about the law and how it affects them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. We cannot wait to listen to your perspectives from Kenya. And lastly, with me, we have Monica Waithera. I hope I've pronounced it right. Monica is a BPO consultant in Kenya, and we just want to listen to more about doing the work that you do, and maybe a snippet of something that I've missed out in your introduction. Over to you, Monica.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Monica. I'm from Kenya, Nairobi. I am a consultant, basically doing business processes that is digital marketing, accounting, anything business. I also I've worked in the youth space before in the area of leadership governance. I'm glad to be here to discuss matters youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Today our conversation is really around understanding the Uganda national budget, but also understanding Defender. We have feedback from, so I think a recurring comment. Let's kindly address it. So I want to understand the priorities of the Uganda budget, you know, and vis-a-vis what is happening, picking leaves or even a tree on the kind of advocacy happening in Kenya. We already had a great introduction today from Crispus about the Uganda budget process, and many of us at least had an idea of what it takes to reach the approval stage and even understand the implementation dates, but also how best can we participate. And for me, two things that stand out from Crispus's presentation. One is that we should not wait to be table of budget processes. We should take ourselves there. We should be seen and be heard, which is a very time what I took from to see its priority. So we are seeing at our different hubs to understand whether Uganda's budget actually has the youth at the heart of its budget or priorities. I just want to start with the panelist here, Honorable Isaac, who is a district leader and councillor in Mukono district, but also at Kombe Island. You participated, I believe, as a leader. I just want you to give the audience a brief overview of your experience during that you were in the process of budgeting, and your opinion, youth priorities were actually considered, but if possible, you could give a few examples of these priorities. Yes.
Okay, at the district level, at the national level?
It could be both. But district would be nice so that we have a feel of what is within your locality, and then your opinion on the national one really as a leader.
Okay, thank you very much. Host, my name is Isaac again. In regard to the question you've asked about my full participation in the budgeting process, I really did. But at the district of Mukono, we have 2 youth representatives on top of the district youth council. An extra mile of having the 2 district representatives, meaning these people, their responsibility, their primary responsibility is to usher in views of the youth within the budget process. So I should say that at the district level, the issues of the youth are handled, though not to perfection or not 100%, but at the national level, first of all, I appreciate the government for bringing on table different aspects covering the youth. For example, you have the PDM. When you look at the PDM, the youth are catered for at a given percentage. When you look at the yoga project, the youth are also catered for at a given project. But I want to extend my dissatisfaction still to the government, that however much they are coming up with different projects, they are failing. Reason, they are failing to bring the youth on board. I want to give an example of the Youth Livelihood Program. We are from the presentation. Mr. Chris Pine has given us a preamble and a brief introduction of the Youth Livelihood Program. A lot was injected in the project. Quite a good number of the young people got the money, but a few have retired. It is not their fault that they have not brought back the money, but it is because they got little or no training as far as handling the money is concerned. And so government, yes, is trying to bring different projects, put in money, but still it is not training the youth on how to handle the money. We had a youth day last year, but I emphasized it as a youth chairperson, that however much you come in with different projects, but when you don't take time to train youth, you're doing nothing. So the government, I do appreciate, it has come up with different projects, but still as a leader, I call up with different plan or with a plan of training the young people on how to embrace, on how to benefit from these projects.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you so much, Isaac. I just want to follow up before I really conclude with you. What strategies can young people in Uganda take to ensure that they are actually included in the process? Because from your explanation, there are programs for young people, but young people do not know these programs. And yet you are a youth leader. There are also youth leaders that's here in Mukono, in Mbale, Kwach, and you know, those that are viewing on YouTube. What can they do to ensure that they actually participate, they be heard and seen?
Okay, I should say that, once again, I appreciate the government. Many programs there. The government has youth leadership, but giving us leadership a budget, because it would be youth leaders to mobilize, to sensitize, and inform young youth leaders. We have this, but we don't have that budget to do so. So from the training we've had, young leaders have been called upon to always seek for knowledge before they are called for. Let a responsibility of young leaders to always move around offices, seeking for guidance, seeking for knowledge. Not wait for the youth leaders, because yes, we are in offices, but we don't have a budget. We are limited. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Isaac. From what I've learned, partly is I think in Uganda also the processes are a bit rushed. Yes. Because that is just an opinion. When Crispa was telling us about the budget session, imagine you're just starting a new financial year and immediately you're looking at the other year's budget, yes, without even assessing utilize the funds exactly, yes, performed or not. So for me, that would take me to Maria in Kenya. I just want to know from you, Maria, whether Kenya has youth programs, you know, in your budget process. What is it like? Are youth effectively, you know, participating in your budget process? Because unlike Uganda, we also are, we have 70% of our population as young people, but these young people are not, say, as active as the Kenyan youth, you know. So could you give us a brief of how effectively young people in Kenya participate in budget processes, but also if your government has youth programs like the ones we have in Uganda or similar ones?
Okay, thank you. So I would like to see that Uganda is doing very well compared to Kenya when it comes to involving the youth and the budget process, because there was a recent open survey that occurred in 2023, and Kenya was lower than Uganda in this aspect. And the same thing happened around. I will say that for us, we Uganda did really well, and in this aspect, you can already see because program that involves the youth budget process. We do not have very many similar programs. I'd like to say that we do have some, but it's very limited. For example, World Bank, Kenya Evolution Program, and this helps incorporate the youth in the budget making and transparency level at the county level. Also the Enable Kenya Youth Program, and this is also to provide funds to entrepreneurs, those in agriculture. However, beyond that, there is so much involvement. That's also why the just survey will happen, because people realize the finance bill just went up. No one was asked about, the common people were not asked about the opinion on it. Yes, now is there?
Yes, Maria, for that. Indeed, we appreciate you for saying Uganda is fairly doing well in its prioritization of young people or their engagement. But we just want to learn from Kenyan perspective. What strategies do you use, or do you think the young people should now adapt, you know, in Kenya to ensure that they actually participate? Maybe from such strategies, we the young people in Uganda can also learn and also practice. Maria, can you hear me? Okay.
That's a great question. One is education, and this starts at just in their houses. Each household should understand what is in this budget, and when it comes to the finance, what is in the finance that comes from the budget. This starts with small groups such as Vijana Court, and even myself in Kenya. I'm only an Instagram page, but can you imagine? I've reached so many people, young people between age 15 and above to 35, so they can understand what the law is. The law is very complicated, and that includes budgetary processes, civic education, and this can be used through
Sorry. Is network on our side?
Technology,
okay.
Plays.
Disconnected all the hubs.
Community engagement too is very important. Another thing is youth-led initiatives funded by events or even being funded by international organizations, or help. The youth are the ones who reach other youth and so on and so forth, enabling the change to occur within the process, and people will realize this is the process that happens, and so I need to step up and hold the government accountable. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. We had a little bit of network glitch, but we listened to at least 90% of what you said. And key to note is, of course, civic engagement, having to have the knowledge before you even engage, which is partly one of the reasons why Vijana is in existence, because through such sessions, people are able to understand the budget process and then are well prepared for the next process. When you were speaking and Honorable Isaac was speaking, I just remembered a short story about the Ugandan the parish development model, how young people were not aware about how the model was work, how the program is going to work. So young people would get the money, not knowing that it is money, or you're going to pay it back to the government after some time after using and investing in it, and you have profits, young people in Uganda were thinking that government is giving back to them, as you know, for being good citizens, or government is thinking about now its people. The common phrase in Uganda is government, where are you? So this time the government has appeared. So young people were using in the bars and drinking and eating it all, and then 1 week down the road we're asking them, where is the investment you have done? Unfortunately, the money was done, and others were even getting more wives than men, but also saying that women would get into beauty, you know, buying all these beauty products, and yet it's government money. Anyway, that is food for thought. As young people in Uganda, we face a lot of challenges beyond understanding the budget, the level of advocacy. So I just want to Mbale, our Mbale, our mono there, a PhD candidate. We want to hear from you, what policy measures do you think the government has that you probably would like to share to us, but also kind of point out to us what you think is not working in as far as the budget process, policy-wise. You know, previously we were talking about how NDP3 is getting done. We're going into NDP4. Do young people even know about NDP4? And yet that they are almost concluding that the structures of consultation, you know, there are things to the SDGs and so many policies. I would not want to preempt your speech, but could you give an analysis from a policy perspective on how Uganda is doing, really?
Thank you very much. Speaking from the last point, it's true that we are policies, which leads student participation in the budgeting process, budget implementation, and so on. And their level of involvement both in government and particularly process to shape their future, shape the future of the country, to project the country into a good, a commendable international global setup. Look at such policies. The only exception is that whereas we have the level of constitutionalization, the level of understanding the context under which such policies are, and also the way that the citizens, especially the youth, should do for instance, we talk of the NDP3 which ended, and NDP2 which ended last financial year, in the financial 2019-2020. Many of district and MODs, I was reading the Auditor General's report in the National Auditor General's report for 2020 and 2021. He points out that the level of understanding and engagement of the NDP 2 and also 3 is still lacking to the national budget. Now, if you do not have a country where your budget is aligned with the national government, then first we have to cast out as of whether the implementer of the budget still understands the aspect. Then if they do not, how then are the younger people, in this case, going to understand where the implementers and interferers are? Even last year, still I read the budget execution in return, whether it is in return, the GDP, till you see that the Auditor General's report picks that on the current presidents. And when you just pass it to it, this financial year, there is the in terms of that both MDs have passed will also be in line with the same MD. Because to the viewers outside, whether MDs approves their budgets, which in essence are supposed to be operational by the 1st of July, every calendar year or financial year budget. They are delayed for like 1, 2, 3 months. I never explained to the public unless we as the especially those who are the policy implementations and power systems. The delay normally are structured in nature, like thinking on how the budget is aligned to the national plan. Now, look for instance, we have the other people here after listening, they were talking about how their participation and in the situation where of the House representatives discuss the council and district was for long was they do not stand on top of the participation in the budget formulation, budget security, budget implementation, also monetary is important. It's important to them. But if it is not, or if it is yes, at what one was asking, for instance, that do we have to go to our country and tell them what we need? We feel right. But who stated that? So I think for me, the government of Uganda has put policy the level of popularization to the public, to the youth. Because if you are talking about governance processes, you must include the younger people. You cannot just be talk of those who are both processes and leaders and observers. No, we must include all. Now, the policy we have, for instance, look at the access to information package. And also Article 41 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which mandate to access public information which is in possession of the state or government or any other government entity. But when it comes to the, I am telling you that my involvement and understanding, especially the lower is that they treat a budget as a confidential tool, as a confidential document that should be known councillors to technical people. They forget that a budget is for the citizens. Now, at a where we are considering information, those who are supposed to reach, and mandates them to suppose that they should not meaningfully participate. And for you to consider it, you will implement the etiquette. As the Hamza, I tell you that the solutions are there. Very, 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 and if indeed we at 60% of them, I think we see changing with the level, especially younger involvement and the budgeting processes. So for me, I think the debate to
the microphone is
how visualization of budgeting
yes.
a government tool.
As you wind up, please.
How that
we're kindly requesting you to wind up so that we can have a comprehensive conversation as well on what you have said.
Now, as I summarize, I'm saying that if I agree that there are policies in Uganda that end especially younger people, then we should focus on how the systems and what mechanisms should be put in place so that the younger people can participate in the affairs of their governments, the affairs of their nation, using a budget as a governance tool, a governance platform to enlist citizens' demand. For instance, go to Kenya. Yesterday I saw His Excellency, the President of Kenya, adhering the citizens' demands and downsizing the cabinet and the all other MDAs. Why? Because he was saying the citizens, the younger people have spoken in but you think they value. So before we reach there, we have a candidate discussion at the inception of these planning processes, even people spending before even and we have the younger people on board and then to understand their thinking, their mind, what their approach is, what the public want to do. So that we implement a budget, you know that it has been politically solicited from all of us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wamono. Key from what you have said is the popularization of these policies, but also the budget itself. How many young people are involved or even aware of the policies that are being used in the country? We have also noted that we need to understand these policies and help the dissemination. I want to commend Vijaya because I think last year, but they've always been policy dissemination. We had dialogues on the youth policy engagement in Uganda, the national youth policy. Can young people understand this policy and their role? But now more understandable for us who are seated in Mukono, in Mbae, and in Pakwach. We have all understood the budget process. We will yet understand it in due time. The second thing we have noted is that beyond budget implementation, so that is where also young people need to actively participate. How do you call for accountability? You know, our understanding today, at least if you forget anything, is that after understanding these policies, after understanding the budget, what is your role as a young person? Can you be seen? Can you be heard? Things to do with our participation processes or even calling for accountability, we have only learned the efficiency of this recently. And I just want to go to Monica from Kenya in that, yes, Maria told us about how in Uganda we actually engage young people more in the budgetary processes, but then from you, your strategies in Kenya, could you tell us, maybe to someone who is listening in for the first time, what is happening in Kenya, briefly an overview, and as a result of what is happening, what has been the outcome? People are hearing through rumors about the ministers being scrapped off. So can you drive us to that point up to yesterday? What exactly happened?
Thank you so much. So basically, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm just So what has been happening in Kenya, you're saying young people need to be involved. I think that
I think we are losing
so
you.
in Kenya, what has been happening is that people have actually taken it upon that can say elected law, no, instead of agency, a transition started earlier, between the millennials and the rest of that. Just that now with this generation thing, they have access to technology and technology arrange their own child. And then the backing of the millennials who have their status is formulated, and some of the young people want to get involved physically or within an age, of 6, but most of them are just behind the step or or but now point out, alright, like if I just go beyond the internet, yeah. So the spending that has happened with leaders spending. So we have a budget, yes. We have the yes. And I will spend without roles, yeah. And just since on touching using another site for people, just to me with
Monica, I think we are losing you.
But then you just think generation is very and higher as well the fit. And the good thing with it is we are not influence any political. This is just a movement you know, leaders to elect. What we see is that for people who support fight for what the agency that he ends up taking but then the police those things are the other thing is they're not relenting. I think the problem we have maybe
sorry, Monica. Monica, can you hear me?
Yes. Go back to the watch. And now this movement they know
Monica, can you hear me?
They have clear demand that they have just in case this is what people
can we try and mute her maybe so that we send a message on the chat? So sorry, Monica, you've been breaking.
Can you hear me now?
No, not clearly. I'm not sure because even the other hubs were not able to hear you clearly, but that is a very, very important response that we would have really loved to hear from you. I would like to first go to Pakwach, to the panelists in Pakwach, and then we get back to you so that you re-emphasize what you just said, since many of us did not hear. I don't know whether it's a challenge on our side or on your end, but even Maria had made a comment in the chat that we are not able to hear you. You were breaking. I hope we can resolve that. As we resolve that, I just want to appreciate you, Monica, for your response and your patience. But would like to go to Anna in Pakwach. Anna, if you can hear me and you're close to the camera, we want to hear from you. So in Pakwach, Anna, could you share with us really a grassroots perspective, you know, and working to understand how best a person not only in Pakwach, a person in Arua, in Mbale, in Koboko, or in a village in Kenya can strategically align themselves to participate in the budget processes. But beyond that, Anna, you could share with us challenges that are limiting young people from participating, because in conversations we have spoken about the process, about how youth should participate, but we have not challenges. I think if from you, we'll be able to know where the problem is. Over to you.
Thank you so much. About the first graduate aspect, I hope I'm reading hard. Thank you. Thank you so much, Connie. About the graduate perspective of how to be involved in the budget process, we have seen and had complete what you shared with us in the morning. Most of the people at the level, they are not aware about that. Most people do not know whether the budget was passed or not. So we find that people at the grassroots level, they are not involved. And if we have the youth council, no, the district council, so do not exhaustively, or at parish level, they do not take time to meet these people and discuss with them what are their challenges, what do they need, what are their priorities, what are they need, or what are the basic services that could be provided so that it helps in the budget processes. But then you find that these people at the grassroots level are not involved. But then how can they be involved? One is, as we have seen, the CSOs like Uganda, they are coming up to empower the youth to ensure that they demand for what rights belong to them. So one thing that the youth in the community can do is to strategically themselves and demand for their services, because most people do not know that they have the right over this government, terms of government property. They do not go to the district, they do not bother to go to the town council. But when we enlighten these youth and they will get to know that yes, I have a right to monitor projects, government projects that are within my community. I to go and see the schools is up, the teachers see the facilities good, go to the health center, and then they advocate their right services. So one thing that we can do is that the youth should strategically get involved in these programs of government. We have seen government so much of PDM, but if I every produce government project at the same, every project at the same people benefit. So what people have given, like you can do, all the COCs can also and empower them and tell them the government, everyone, they are well so that they are able to take up the lead. But the challenges that are being faced by young people in the community, we find that most young people do not have the capacity or they have the capacity or the skills to responsible people. We find that so because maybe they do not anything, they do not have the qualification. They find it very hard to go to offices of the government, to the government offices, to find out what is happening. So, challenges that you have, most people are and they do nothing. So, find the person at the grassroots level is being affected, you find that the money that this person gets, after they have one thing I have to is maybe the PDM that comes direct to the beneficiary. But if it was to reach from then some councils, some evidence you will get. So if they use come up with mechanisms that enable them to reach the direct beneficiaries, that will also help so that it cuts down the gap, the information gap, but responsibility. Is that I'm supposed to young people or to tell the right thing. Most of them are reluctant. We talked about the laws, and now we have known their weaknesses. Of course, they need to hold these meetings, but they can be innovative and creative and find a way of meeting. They do not go back to the people that voted them. They do not go back. The only time they go is when they need votes or the program that has money. So one thing that we can also do is to ensure that we've got the right people who are not only man-minded, but also people who are going to speak on our behalf. But also those who look into the community needs. What do they need? What do the youth need? Not only focusing on what comes from the government, but also involving the people so much into their programs of the government. So they are the stakeholders, they are one of the key stakeholders. If we involve them at the beginning, or right from the find that most of them will embrace the program and most of them will participate in the government programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us that comprehensive response. I think from what we have learned from Anna is that beyond participating in the process, there is usually that feedback of accountability, because she's talking about the misallocation of funds. It reminds me of how in Uganda we are getting into the 2026 elections, and us as young people have the power to create change, have the power to cast your vote, and you have that civic right. The people you're bringing to office are people who will account to you and will involve you directly. But also, just before I get to Monica, since we had asked you earlier, I don't know if work is now. Beyond even the accountability is that you have to be prepared. Start participating in council meetings or advising Honorable Isaac on what to prioritize in when he goes. If you do not have prior knowledge in that. Important for us to note is that this knowledge does not need to be in English. Kenya, when they were preparing for their movement against the sections in that finance bill at the end of the day, Monica, you were telling us about the organization of young people in Kenya to seek accountability from so many people, notably the President Ruto, who recently has been adhering to those various calls from the young people. Young people were like, reduce your cabinet by half, or even just do not reshuffle, but just remove them. And yesterday he did that. He removed more than half of his cabinet ministers because he listened to the young people. And before that, even in Kenya, I think Ruto called off the army because young people were saying we are fearless, we are tribeless, and we are partyless. So can you tell us more about that kind of organization? Because as young people in Uganda would really want to learn from that. Monica, if you can hear me. Oh.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Yes, sorry for that network mission. So yes, I was talking about, as you have mentioned clearly, the organization that we have seen with this group of young people. Basically, they're very well organized. They are in, I think someone has mentioned the importance of having information very well about the, you know how to participate. What we have seen is they know where they have to participate. So they have what they can access easily. TikTok, and even when they went on ground, they had their demands clear, and some of them, those ones that you mentioned about, once the cabinet scrapped off all of it, which they did it. So it's not even enough. He actually the whole cabinet apart from the prime secretary and of course the deputy president. Everyone else was sent home, which is something that is actually a win for us as a country and not just the young people, because those were the most corrupt people. They didn't care about how they spent the public money. I think that they have tried to give justice to people who were killed and those who have been affected during the protest, because one thing that the youth did, they were peaceful, yeah, they were very peaceful. Apart from some other, infiltration by some goons and all that, the main agenda was peaceful protesting, and that happened. And we have seen actually even the president himself decided, you know what, let me engage these people and let me where they are. So that's also something that we saw that was very commendable of it. Just so this president and young they are to him, and they were talking like they're talking to a friend, a friend who has disappointed them, yeah, a friend who they voted but has disappointed, and that was effective. So one thing that you can learn from this as a region in Uganda is the idea of having information, knowing the platform to air your research, and doing it peacefully, yeah, and not relenting. Thing also stood out. They are not backing down, yeah. Now that we have the cabinet has been scrapped off, the next thing they have on the agenda is to have BBC set up and reinstated, and when you have that done, then we can be able to recall some of those MPs that are still and are still in the parliament. We can actually call off and remove them. And this is what I think we should check learn as young people, that we have the power. We are young, maybe our parents cannot do it, but as young people we have power and we can actually do it. As long as we are organized and we are peaceful and we know what we want. Because the other thing is the problem we've had for a long time in Africa is lack of information. Not lack of it, it's just that we are, let me use the word, has been used most times, we are lazy, we don't want to find the information. So because we feel like politics are not for that, but I think we need to learn it. We are the leaders of today and not tomorrow, and we need that information so that we can make informed decisions, informed advocacy, and informed actions, because this is our country. Uganda is your country as youth of Uganda, and you need to stand up for it. The people cannot do it, the younger one cannot do it. Who is there to do it? It's us young people. Okay.
Thank you, Monica. Really, it's important to have clear demands. I think that is something that has been lacking if we're to think about it in Uganda. People are striking or protesting. You ask, what do you want? And you're like, you don't even know where to start from. Your anger is all over the place. So I think we need to try and make our demands more clear. If possible, list them. I mean, there's no harm in learning. Maria, we want to hear more, maybe you, just as you conclude with a perspective, if anyone has been maybe left out, re-emphasize what Monica did. Over to Maria.
Great. Actually, that's amazing, but it actually reflects what the idea. I can just outline from where we began, because this year has been so for us, basically. And this started back in January. We had the protests against of women, the femicide. And people were saying a lot of women, you will be killed anyway, women will still be our servants, and on. But this showed the beginning of the heat. To this day, there's still the not only women are being killed, but men are being killed on the streets, women are being killed on the streets due to the protests. So on top of these killings, we have killings now based on fighting for our rights. And based on that, people saw that, hey, if women can have the power, then that means we can have the power. And also, there were protests on the economy before that were led by, we had Mandamano Tuesdays. Mandamano is already for protests. We had Mandamano Tuesdays. Everyone knew Tuesdays and even Wednesdays were not going to work because they're protesting the economy. And to make things worse, they brought the finance bill, which was supposed to enhance the bottom-up economy, meaning if the also doing well, then the economy overall will do well. And that's not things like digital technology, things like influencers and the healthcare sector, such in agriculture. And we saw the finance bill is now causing the introduction of this aspect. How are we supposed to have a bottom-up economy and succeed? We're taking 16% from what we're earning and taking it into the government, but not where it's going. And that's where the big problem came. And that's when I started realizing, hey, I need to know what is happening in this country. I can fight for what's right. And that's where it starts from. Everything, all the conversations we're having is about or people are not able to get information. And the whole process in Kenya that take away that knowledge is the ChatGPT on sanitary. What does the finance education? And they started everything, all the paying attention. And it's now starting a revolution that we, since the protest was withdrawn, then the call for removal of cabinet secretaries from the Kenya School of Law, from the Board of Engineers, from doctors. So you see, it's literally causing a wave like, hey, everything has not been working, and this is the year to fix it. So it starts with knowledge. It starts with knowledge, and that's where you're able to form a clear demand. And then you're all united. As you can see at this protest, this conversation, there's no discussion about race, there's no discussion about gender, class, none of that. In fact, everyone of every race, Kenya is multicultural, multiracial, was on the streets. And in fact, if you are the protesters would do and continue protesting, and see the unity that from knowledge and fighting for a common goal, which especially if we've done, like start by educating each other. Please do not allow someone to say, I don't know about this, I'm not interested in politics. Make them interested, because it affects you either way. In Kenya, it was we're talking about the social media, the finance bill was explained in English, Swahili, and all the traditional languages, and people got told share with your parents so they can understand that this stuff is bad and that we're not being crazy. There was VAT being introduced on bread, on sugar, on medical supplies, on food supplies, physics supplies, and yet they're supposed to enhance the digital economy, but they're taxing the supplies that are supposed to come in and help us enhance. Are you seeing that? So I think having knowledge and enhancing your demand, fighting together, realizing this is a common goal. As the Constitution is, you are the people and you have the power lies in you. You must be educated in order to exercise that power. That's what I'd like to add. Thank you.
So much, Maria and Monica from Kenya, but also to our panelists in Mbale and Akwach and within Mukono. I know we would have wanted to have this conversation over and over. I feel like Vijana should even have a Twitter space or something. But when you were talking about unity, I remembered, I don't know if many of us have watched the short video by Uncle Mo about comparing the protests in Kenya and Uganda. And he said in Uganda, when it's lunchtime, people will not be there at the protest because they'll be looking for food. But also when you agree come at 9, someone will come at 11, and the guys are looking for means of transport, or it was raining. Like, they have so many excuses not to be there. And then Kenyans in their protests were going towards the police, while in Uganda, once the police appears, everyone has disappeared. You're either on a tree, under a house, or what. You're just hiding, you know. So I think it gets back to bravery. And in Uganda, I think on 23rd, there's talk that there's going to be a march to Parliament over corruption. People are marching to Parliament requesting for corruption to be ended, for the Speaker to resign. They're also saying if you're not able to march to Parliament on that day, march to your member of Parliament's home and ask for accountability. And because today we're talking about understanding the budget processes and youth priorities, you need to think to yourself as young people, our priorities are upheld as young people beyond the budget, because what they're budgeting for is what they're going to see in the year. You're going to see your area MP changing cars, and yet your hospital is not having medicine. So that is where we start from with our accountability. And I just want to end by giving an opportunity again to Honorable Isaac before we get to please, my panelists online, do not log out, because we might have a question or two at least from every hub. Pakwach, Mbale, can we have one question at least? And then in Mukono, I will be biased and give 2 questions, since we have a physical audience here. So Isaac, the question is so weird, but do you think Ugandan youth can carry the energy that Kenyan youth have carried to President Museveni, to the government, to the area MP in Mukono, to ensure that roads are better, to ensure that youth priorities are actually upheld in the budget, but also physically? And of course, do you think young people can hold a Twitter space with Museveni like they did in Kenya with Ruto? You know, just that. And maybe if you think it's not, tell us why. And if you think it's possible, tell us why.
Okay, thank you very much, Council, for this opportunity again. But I think, and I believe in Uganda, it is impossible. And the reason is for the Kenyans, for the young people in Kenya to march to Parliament, to have a Twitter discussion with the president. It doesn't come from like out of the blue. Right now, Aga Khan University, Aga Khan Foundation is embracing early childhood development. The Kenyans know it. Monica and Maria have gone through it. They have been taught to fight for their right. They have been taught to come up and be assertive, be aggressive where necessary, at the time be determined and resilient, which is not the case in Uganda. In Uganda, you had patriotism, but it died out. It's done patriotic. So what the government should do, I don't know if the government will do it because out of our ignorance, but what organizations should do is to come up with early childhood development. You begin training young people from a tender age. As they are growing up, they know how to fight for their rights. In Uganda, the story is totally different. How young people in Kenya were really approaching the police. And I was like, is this really Africa? The story is totally different. What civil society organizations should do, or facing a lot of resistance from the government, because that training we had about early childhood development was blocked by the government. What the government should do, what civil organizations should do on how to fight for our rights. And then about, you talk information regarding budget. This information is not concealed. It is though you access after paying a certain amount of money, but very little. But the youth are not interested. For example, open invitation turned up. Not still gets back to early childhood development. We don't know our rights. We don't know that the information there. At times, must get us as leaders, but I should say that, like telling a councillor to mobilize the whole county is very, very expensive, and yet we don't have that budget. We have over 31 villages. Each village is island. Meaning, for me to travel from, for example, where I come from, a village, I need a jerrycan of fuel, which is about 90. And young people on how for their.
Okay, thank you so much, Zach. And when you were speaking, I just thought of how even as leaders to stand up and say the money you're giving us is not enough, or you have a sit strike, which I think is not something that overnight. It takes organization, it takes having the knowledge, so that when you're being asked, you have the perfect responses for it. So now, the audience, I am not sure, do any questions or comments? Because you comment, I have one here already. Okay, I'll just take two gentlemen and then we'll get to Pakwach, and I'll start with the gentleman over here. Let's keep it, if you have a question, mention the panelist name so that they are aware, and if it's a comment, then you go straight to it. That will be only a minute at most for each person.
Good afternoon to Ugandans and the applicants from Kenya and Tanzania. I'm Matari and Benon once again. I just wanted to comment on the issue. My brother, I was talking about Ugandans being able to do the same thing as Kenyans did. That thing is, in Uganda, even us who are standing as politicians today, we are just beheaded. Yes, when we are still young, they used to tell us that we should respect the elders and we should be humble. But to be a politician today, a person who can stand up and speak for yourself and for the community at my age, you must be big-headed just. Why? Even our parents, I don't know how many requests I've received from my relatives and my parents stopping me from engaging in the country. So, Isaac talked about it. People in Kenya are different from us. They were taught from the grassroots. The grassroots is telling us, you live. You should not engage in it. Why? We fear for our lives. I don't know how many people has told me that you will be eliminated and your children won't see your success. But it's just because I am big-headed. So Kenyan is having us to express the rights, which is not in Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll go to the gentleman that side, and then the lady. Yes, him. 1 minute. As you speak, I just remembered bad girls get the corner office. So I think it's high time in Uganda also become bad girls and boys. Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so grateful. I normally refer back. I participated in this census 2024 and I learned a lot. When I was supervising my enumerators, and I was calling the focus group to discuss with them, the youth groups, I realized that the youth were knowing nothing. The government programs, they just punish, why are you wasting our time? Don't waste our time. Leave us to go and look for, they have been collecting information here, but gain nothing. So I realized that the youth are not informed. Why? Because what our council is limited budget from the youth at grassroots levels. So unless they can improve on such budget allocation. Then also the youth of this day, we need really the Twitter handle, especially those coming on TikTok, to inform our fellow youth, the literates, about the economy. Because people talk about economy, but when you ask them what is economy, they shy away. They don't know that that is a material resource of their country. So they get stranded. They don't understand economics deep. They just see figures and they realize the budget is when there is a new tax put in place and people are paying higher prices. Then they ask themselves what's happening. Then that's when you enlighten them. Don't you know that the financial year ended? Then they start realizing they have put new tax that's when they start coming in. Thank you so much for the chance.
Meant the importance of using media. We'll come to the lady here, and then Pakwach and Mbale. The importance of using media indeed to inform each other, because we are very active online, but can we move away from being keyboard warriors and become physically present? Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. Mine will be first comment on the submission of money. It's about the Ugandan youths as well as the Kenyan youths. If you're to look at the aspect of Uganda, the youths form 70% of the population. But if you're to follow the awareness, there is no awareness in youths, which is different from the Kenyan youths. There is a lot of awareness that has provided the aspect of inclusivity of the youths in the Kenyan politics and all fields of work. This has driven their interests to follow up what they want and see whether what they want has been implemented or not, and where they have found that their interest in implemented that, for example, the finance bill, their interests were being worked against, and they took up action, which is different from here. There is nothing like, okay, the awareness is there, but then we can't percentage of Kenya that is leaving youths behind. Taking up your example, Honorable, the one whereby the let's call them the budget, where you call the people to come talk about the issues, what they want. We've seen that different sub-counties have shied from these programs and have taken up the aspect of compliance budget guidelines, and in fear of demand that people are going to ask, what are we going to get from there? Going to buy for us orders. That's what, according to his example, that's what he told us. But then due to that, he told us that people have resorted to involve themselves as the way they are in office, and then discuss what their line of interests, and that's what they in the end take up. That is leaving many youths' interests behind, and they are also taking up their space by leaving out their interests. That was my question to you.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have to first go to Mbale. Mbale, do you have any question? I had promised to take at least one question from Mbale or a comment.
Thank you. Only we have about 2 questions in Mbale, and please accept the 2 questions.
Okay, please. Okay, 1 minute each.
Oh, please.
How to speak for our rights, and maybe with issues of demonstrations, is this so? Yourself can maybe maybe you're speaking for your rights. That is the fear they have. That's what that is.
Okay. Madam Council, please. You are seeing here. Actually, my comment is that you cannot compare a civilian government. For us, for our president, unless you are like 10 years, you call him, you will not even believe. Then what is the general, so we are the military government, military works, and the civilian government works. That's why the army running after the ground chasing them here in Uganda, and then boy just talks on you. Thank you. Thank you. I think that was the submission from Bale Pony. Last one. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think the first one was a comment. Fear of.
Just the last one, please.
Okay, just in a minute.
Okay, after 1 minute, I'll use 1 minute. Okay? So, part of the panel, the youth are to engage and don't know what to do or affect them. In Uganda, generally, youth don't want to do. But I just don't because they are right. That's the thing of saying you have to inform you, no way, yeah. I had to go to the village, deep inside, but I think that I need to more than I go, and you come. But they go, but when you come out, you first make a will. When you come and fight for democracy in Uganda. All that, when you're going to fight for democracy, you have to give a will.
Okay. Kindly unmute. Defender. Sorry, I keep getting muted, but we have taken note of your comments. Mbale, I think there's no question from Mbale, but maybe comments for our panel to respond to later on. And then Pakwach, you have a chance for 2 questions, at least 1 minute each. Team Pakwach, if you're ready.
Thank you. For me, one of the I'm the main to start provide one question for you. My to the one of there. Question goes like this: how best can we engage in local government planning and budget? Thanks. This one,
Thank you very much. I am Corporation Patricia. My concern is about whereby out of what has been discussed, we have a role of a citizen, whereby even the youth, they are also the citizens. What the duty is to pay tax, and those tax collected are supposed to do work in different areas of district or community. But when you are seeing some districts, those money collected are not really work hard. The financial here is and for the youth also. What you are putting the youth in done, and the youth are here to that duty to be done in the district at any level. What are the government planning for the youth in order to explore that human rights in different areas? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pakwach, also for your question. I will get back to the panelists. Maybe I'll start with panelists from Mbale and Pakwach. Then we have Maria and Monica, and end with Honorable Isaac. I think Honorable Isaac had a question. Panelists, you will just give a conclusive comment on whatever has been given, and also your parting shots. We can conclude the session in about, I think, 2 minutes. We would appreciate a brief comment. So, Mbale, panelist.
Thank you very much. I start with the question which was because I think from Papa. How can I use local and that's a good what I'm into with you understanding the entire planning and budgeting process. You go and understand, I think in the morning, Crispin was telling us about the planning, the budgeting process, how it seems each month. Now we are next month, we know that the first budget process is going to be issued out. So you start to understand that by the time the budget paper and go to the budget conference. Budget conference, you know, there, and then we start from there. Because once you understand that the paper work paper has been issued or sent to the Ministry of Finance, and also the preceding budgetary effects that are going to go, especially the budgeting process, I mean, this one, which is already held in December. You are able to mobilize yourself and let me understand the issues that you know that they are passing, but you need to bring issues of what you're getting money. Because here, government has no capacity to give you money into your pocket. It can only be done through bringing it in terms of programs, of supporting rural communities for life. To understand issues which affect your community, then you make then once you have that, also to go through your council. The morning one was the question as whether the council has can liquid or yes to the presentation of the citizens in the that direct representation through you yourself directly participating in the budgetary processes, the directed by your councillor or the parliament. So understand when what should be done and then two, also you must know that the current legal framework supports you as a person to be able to from your local government leaders. For instance, I was talking about the Act of Information Act of 2005, but also the Act of 41, the Constitution of the Republic, which gives us mandate to access information which is in possession of the state to you to influence decision making, to influence your participation in the processes that can aid and add value to your country as citizen. And it is you to understand what are government priorities. It is also important because whereas we may know, we may want also to have our
sorry, as you conclude as well.
Understand the government priorities first. Important, and as I conclude, benefit individually and also to enjoy it as a country. I think it's enough for our PhD country, also a chairman of the public community for Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wamono. We have learned so much from you, and we cannot wait to exchange more details later, especially in the commentary. I'm sure there are some comments as well there directed to you, the panelists. You can respond at leisure. Over to you, Anna. As you respond to any of the comments, kindly also conclude within 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. I didn't have any much questions, and I think most of the questions that were asked have already been answered. But what I say is that as you need to speak one language, but also know the right platform to express our dissatisfaction with the services that we receive. Because you may find some of us we believe in humans, we don't know the right thing, but also when we are well informed and we what exactly we're supposed to ask, and then we have to go to the right people in the right offices and we demand for it to us. But if you are not aware of what you are doing, because first of all, it's understanding the budget that has just been passed. So when you understand you see what has been in how much did they spend, the budget may not be given as they may give out it. So how much district or is account did they spend on maybe on the services or some of the infrastructure, how much it will help us to understand and analyze their loopholes or where there are opportunities to also help us in advocacy. We can't advocate for something that we really don't have any about. So first we have to be well informed and also speak the same language and know the right platform to express our dissatisfaction.
Thank you so much, Anna. Over to you, Monica. From Uganda and say too much, we give up so fast, and we are under a military government. But I would be glad to hear your conclusive remarks.
Thank you. Yeah, I've heard that, and I acknowledge the differences. Your government and the Kenyan government are very different, and I acknowledge the environment that you're in. But the question to ask ourselves is, so what? So what is there a way that we can still engage if we might get the President Museveni on Twitter? Is there a leader, maybe a useful leader that can listen to you? Can you bring that leader to Twitter space and have a conversation with them? Someone who can relate with, someone who understands you, as young people, yeah? Or even if it's not a young leader, is it an old leader that still has interests of the youth at heart? I want to imagine that the whole government, it can't be there's no one who listens to the youth or no one who wants to hear the youth. So find out, even if it's a leader, is there some and air the grievances. As I've heard is that you have the information, so you just need to act on it and find, as my colleague has said, find an avenue that you can effectively use to act on the information that you have. It doesn't have to be at the top, you can start at the bottom. As the Honorable said, some of us, yes, we have had the opportunity to be educated, about politics, and especially in our, we've had some literature books that, talk about politics and all that, oppression and things like that. They don't know how to fight for rights. But you cannot just sit and say it has to start with the, early childhood. We can start where we are, and maybe have those policies now carried down to early childhood and influence even the MPs or the parliament to have that as a policy so that it can be inculcated, in your education at that level. And the one who push that to them. Some of these leaders really don't care about us, and I think that's the realization we have in Kenya. You elect them, but they care about their interests. So if you don't speak out, they'll just have their interests, and then another term comes, they serve their interests until they are old and or or they are whatever. But they advocate for the rest of the people. So as youth, you start somewhere, figure out where is that place that you need to start from. Who can we access? The person you can access, and let's have a conversation with them, and then see how can we cascade it to downwards to the lawmakers, so that some of those policies can be inculcated in the system, whether education or whatever law, it can be made a law or things like that. And slowly you see change, because change doesn't start in a day. Even in Kenya, we didn't start this year. There's a lot that has happened in the past, brought us to where we are. So don't give up. Don't feel like you're helpless. You can do something and start with what you have. And thank you for this engagement. It was an honor to be in presence, and looking forward to a Uganda, a better Kenya, and a better Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica. Over to you, Maria, as well, as you also conclude.
Okay, thank you so much. Just like Monica, I acknowledge okay then. Monica, let's acknowledge that of course, the situation in Uganda is very different. And it's something very powerful because it impacts your daily life as citizens and as young people. But the one thing that I'd like to say is we were once there as Kenya. We were once there. And I don't see the name of the president, but and people were tortured, people were taken from their homes because of speaking out. And today on the news, I saw that Atinoka, Uganda lady has been arrested for abusing the president. And I truly see the suffering that you're talking about, the fear of your lives, the making of the wills before you speak up. But let me tell you, I think the fight for your rights does not have to be as emotional as it seems. And hear me out on this. It's a very emotional topic. I agree with that. But when you speak from facts, when you do the right thing, follow the right procedure, everything turns out in the end. And when I say this, I mean, someone has talked about no awareness amongst the youth. There's lack of knowledge among the youth. And that starts with, in your own capacity, what's the youth doing to solve this problem? You don't have to go and Twitter and start saying the government is doing this, the government is doing that. The government is not educated. That's true, even us we're not being educated. But we're educating ourselves, each other, and how I'm doing this. Open an Instagram account. Start making some TikToks or posts like what is the budget about 2025, breakdown of the budget. What is the youth participation in the budget here? Small points that people can understand. And from there people will start being interested in this. To be honest, I'm generally not interested in finance, but I had to force myself to learn. But how did I learn? I had to break it down for other people to also understand. But this responsibility of the not having knowledge is up to you. You can just educate your neighbor, you can just educate people, just start with your capacity. And that can be as little as even having every week or every 2 weeks on certain topics that people want to learn about. Or if you've noticed in your community there's a gap that you would like to address. And regarding the human rights concerns, let me tell you, it's very important in the identity of your life, but there's also the procedure, the right procedure, and people who can fight for you. It doesn't have to be you, and that is civil societies, that is over institutions, and you can also use civil rights organizations. I think there's also Amnesty International. Such organizations, you can approach them as a citizen, raise your concern, and they find petitions on your behalf to help you address this problem. So you'll find there are other avenues. It doesn't have to do directly. So the fear is there, yes. You have this fear, but you can also have people, bigger institutions than yourself to help you address. And for my parting shot, I would say, don't give up, educating and believe in yourself. Truly, they start from education. If you continue to stay uneducated, you will continue to vote for the same people and make the same cycle over and over again. And then what will happen to our future? The future is so bright. I truly appreciate your comments. You're very brilliant. And I truly believe Uganda has the future as good as Kenya. Let us continue to work in unity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you, Monica from Kenya. Thank you also Wamono from Mbale and Anna from Pakwach. We get our last remarks from Honorable Isaac, who is seated here in Mukono. Over to you, Isaac. You had, I think, a couple of questions, but we'd appreciate if you could summarize us response to them.
Yes, I missed out on my friend's question because I was still writing about observation about sub-county holding budget conferences, but I think you will remind me about that question. So
basically, in summary, the two questions that you were asked, one was around the role of cities, especially planning for youth in tax. The person mentioned that every year we pay taxes, but then what is the role of youth in planning for these taxes as well? Is how best can young people engage in the local government planning process? Really, they were asking, I think, re-echo though that was mentioned earlier.
Yes, per now in Uganda and in Mukono district, you can only engage, actually there are very many ways of engaging, but the smart way of engaging in the planning process of the country and the budget process is by closely with your youth representative. It is unfortunate that in Uganda, as we are electing youth representatives, we go through structures. Majority of the people who are seated in this room might be here when they don't know they are representatives. That is the only problem. And since these youth are not empowered, they are not facilitated, they cannot move the whole district talking to the young people. But I want Dr. Wamono. He said if you miss out on allocation, scrutinizing and engaging physically in the budget process, at least what you can do is monitoring and evaluation, period. How do you monitor? We have different government programs. We have different platforms which give us information on the budget. The district, we have the budget desk. Look out for that information. Look out for your different leaders. Get to know the different projects within your sub-counties that are supported by the government, because that is your money, and do the monitoring and the evaluation. And then as we crown, I want to thank our friends from Kenya. They have that a little bit of encouraging words. In Uganda, the story is totally different. Even something which things are useful turns out to be a court case. The young people have lost confidence in the judiciary. Those people are compromised and they are influenced by money. What we have to do as Ugandans, borrowing Monica's words, please and please, before you stage a demonstration, first get the relevant information. And let us try to do it in a very peaceful way. And the young people have got chance to interact with people from Kenya, from Vijana Cause, as we are here. What is our role when we get into the community? Is to sensitize the young, not got chance to come here. Period.
Thank you so much, Honorable Isaac. You have spoken with so much passion, and it starts with you at the council, that you will speak up for the payment. You have to move to the district level. But ladies and gentlemen, we have had a conversation around understanding the national budget of Uganda, but also understanding the youth priorities that the government has. If you have forgotten everything, at least understand these 5 things. One is that information is very important and you must understand the process. 2 is that no matter where the process is, you can still get involved. Even at this level, you are already being involved. In as much as the budget was approved, you know, you're still speaking about it. That is your involvement. And of course, 3, you should not remain with that involvement. Disseminate it out there. And Maria shared lessons in Kenya. For them, they even translate the local language. So in as much as in Uganda we share so many WhatsApp messages, morning messages which are forwarded, can we also forward a translated point? Get your national budget, use ChatGPT or Google or something, let it and share with the people on ground if you are a youth leader at a grassroots level. But also beyond that, it's important to have clear demands as you're going to speak up. When you're requesting for accountability as young people, have clear demands. Do not get asked what do you want and you do not even know what you want. But if you know that you have 3 major things that you need, then you're able to achieve them. Of course, in the end is that have confidence in yourself. And this confidence is relative. It's not only in English. Confidence can be, you can speak in your local language and actually articulate your points. So above all, let's keep safe. And I can never end a panel discussion hosted by Vijana without saying, be seen and be heard, because that is the only reason we are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Patience, and the moderator Patience, the panelists, Monica, Hamza. Nice. Thank you very much for this session. And feedback session that will be running in the chat because of time. But I'd like to welcome Annette to take us